Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today, embargo day for the Titleist TSR driver. I'm up here at Woburn. We haven't got to the golf course yet, we're just checking out of the hotel. I'm going to be heading over to the Performance Centre at Titleist today to have a catch up with Nick to find out what this driver is all about and have myself a fitting to see if I can get anything more out of my TSI. The question that I have is, where does this all go? Drivers over the years have increased, you know, they keep saying like an extra 5 yards, an extra 10 yards, but can they actually give us that much more yardage? Well, today we're going to have a little look at it. My gut feeling is that centered strikes are going to be very similar. So anything that's kind of optimized with the driver, I think I'm going to get very similar results. But I think what these companies are trying to do is they're trying to focus on off-centered strikes. They're trying to get us to maintain ball speeds with shots that don't come out the middle or don't come out the middle of where you hit it. Let's head over to Woburn now, catch up with Nick, and let's get on with this fitting. So when we first kicked off with the TSI 3, we had a slightly different shaft in it.
Yep.
And I was losing a lot of sort of low, dippy ones. Came up again, you
Right.
fitted me into this one here, which just really made a difference with keeping the flight up.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it gave me just that little bit more spin.
Yeah.
Just kept that ball in the air just that little bit longer. But
Okay.
to be honest with you, ever since that point, you know, there's been nothing wrong with this driver. This driver's done very, very well. I've been confident with it. I love the look of it, everything. On my bad days, it'll be me.
Sure,
It's got a bit of a sore back and not swinging it great.
Gotcha.
And then I'll get it a bit in the toe.
Okay.
And then I'll just catch it and it'll just turn over a little bit
Yeah,
too much
okay.
with low spin. But actually, I don't lose any yardage because it
Yeah.
just runs out.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Okay. Certainly
So,
in the summer months, you're going to
yeah.
get plenty of ground help.
Plenty.
aren't
People
you?
think I've gained 20, 30 yards of run, but it's all run, you know.
Yeah. That's really interesting though, and I think as we go through the new TSR lineup, you'll see in a couple, or certainly in the 2 model, that you might really benefit from that if you're a golfer that maybe misses the middle a little bit more, whereas TSR 3, you know, the guy that's consistently hitting the same spot at the golf club, middle of the club face, he's going to gain a bit more ball speed out of that, and then ultimately the 4, the sort of the lowest launching, lower spinning setup, again the smaller head, a bit more compact. Again, that golf is going to gain some speeds out of that, but I'd be really interested to see how we go with yourself on certainly on 2.
I would say that that's probably as good as I've got out of anything there.
Okay, Dan, so just to run through, we've got 10 shots, so also shots here of your current TSI 3.
Yeah.
If we go on the equation of club head speed times 2.75 at 103, let's say you're going to be close to a maximum total distance available to you of about 280, give or take. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at your average total at 275, you go, okay, that's pretty good. But then when you kind of look at these carry numbers, there's quite a bit of variance in that, and typically that comes down to, again, the variation in spin. So you've got one here, it's got 2800, one here at 1800, 1500. So again, on that lower side, but as you mentioned earlier, you don't mind that because you want to get a little bit of help from the ground. I still think we can get to this kind of end goal of 275 or 280 in maybe a more, I should say, user-friendly,
controlled
fashion.
environment.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting as we go through the new TSR lineup to kind of see what the results are, and obviously what you like the look, the feel, sound, and obviously monitor the performance. So what we'll do is we're going to have you hit each model. We'll start with TSR 2 and then we'll go 3 and 4.
Great.
And again, we'll see how we progress.
So we're going to go TSR2 to start, as you said, but we're going to, for consistency for this test, we're going to start it out in the shaft that you fitted me into a few months back.
Yeah, we'll minimise the variables at this point. We'll keep this constant.
Yeah.
It'll give us a fair kind of comparison, and then after we've tested the models, we kind of dial it in.
Yeah.
We'll look at the new option that's available, the updated version of this one in the 1K black.
Okay.
So we'll get you to test that as well.
So before we get going, before I start hitting this TSR2 head, can you just give me a bit of an overview of the actual product itself?
Yeah, so I guess little changes from TSI2. The shape has changed a little bit.
Okay.
Back to your comment earlier, there was a few guys that perhaps could or should play TSI2 but maybe preferred the shape of 3, so
Yeah.
it kind of went that way. In TSI2 it was very forgiving, you know, high MOI. With TSR2 the CG is actually a little bit further forward, so that we perhaps can get a little bit more ball speed and keep that spin down a fraction.
Okay.
So that player that perhaps could be well suited to this isn't going to necessarily be deterred by going into 3. I personally think that we'll see a lot of guys going into 2 in this lineup, definitely.
Well, for me, a new driver is all about first impressions, and that is actually the shape that I have been sort of looking for, with a more forgiving head like the TSR2. It's very, very similar to what I have got in my old TSI, just a slight, almost like a little bit bigger. Feels slightly bigger, which actually gives me confidence and more forgiveness, possibly. Feel like there's not too much sort of cone shape at the back, which I was seeing in the old TSI2, which kind of almost put me off. The other thing I really like is that they've really sort of shaped out the toe a little bit more. If you go back in 2 generations, they've got kind of more of a square face. With the TSR2, you've now got more of a rounded shape on the toe, which to me, it kind of just really sits nicely in my eye. First impressions, just with that shot, one shot, is I'm not fighting the left.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I can really go at it a little bit more
Yeah.
and not lose it.
And it's still going to be stable there.
Yeah, I mean it's only one shot, but it's just a feel as I'm coming into the ball, you know. Even that, you know, the TSI3 was going more this way, just literally holding its flight.
So what I like about that, Dan, okay, you've hit that driver 3 times compared to your TSI3.
Yeah.
But even that last one there, like we saw the flight was lower.
Yeah.
I mean, again, a nice strike, but what I like about this, and kind of going back to the initial conversation about where your spin rates were a little bit varied, if you look here at how consistent they are in 3 swings, there's only 82 RPM between the 3 and the variance. Okay, your average now 250, 278, so we're in a pretty good place. And let's say that one there, not your 10 out of 10 shot, no, but it's still comfortably 10 yards past your previous one with TSI3. Yeah. So again, it's more forgiving, but yet you're not having to sacrifice the total available distance that you can get. In actual fact, the first 2 shots you hit with that were the first and second longest drives you've hit today. Right, okay.
Like it doesn't look game improvement to me.
No, and that's where I think where previously in TSI2 we maybe played it a bit safer and going, right, here's a nice forgiving driver, but as you've quite rightly pointed out, we've modified the shape a little bit, the aerodynamics. It's going to be more appealing to that golfer that perhaps was in TSI3, yeah, that perhaps could benefit more from a TSR2.
Yeah. Come on, swing it. See how it's holding that? It's just holding up on the almost on the right side there.
Across the club face, that new technology in the face there, what it's allowed us to do again, maintain ball speed and yet keep very consistent spin rates. Again, look at these numbers here, how tight that is.
That was good. I felt like I struck it a little higher in the face.
A little high in the face again, yep, that would explain that little drop off in spin, but again, so very stable, very consistent. Yeah, exactly. That's your low spin one at 2.
Yeah.
Whereas your 1500, and it's 20 yards further through the air. you drive?
I don't know why, but I get the sense that I am more centered strike with this compared to possibly my own.
That was with your TSI 3,
which is exactly where if you look at the wear area on my face,
yeah,
it's all there.
It tends to be in that direction.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's exactly the difference that it feels
more,
like.
a bit more concentrated and more middle. I can't see a reason at the moment to mess around with that.
I'm gonna try and move my strike a little bit more up here.
Okay.
Just a little bit higher into the toe, but higher on the if I can.
Yeah, sure. To see what it does to spin.
Yeah, just to see what it actually does, and whether that's what happens on the golf course a little bit more. There you go. That's the one. Slightly higher and slightly toey.
Yeah, slightly high, slightly toe, and look at that for your spin rate.
Yeah,
2100. It's actually probably the longest drive you've hit today. 257, close to 258 for 284. If you kind of go through, yours nowhere near it, as in probably further from it than some of the other shots you've hit with TSR2. You've got one out there at sort of 284, 283. So I think you can take confidence in that, and knowing that if on the course that's potentially where the strike location moves to, it's going to work for you.
Got it.
157 ball speed. The quickest balls we've had today. Spin rate in a really good place, 2500. You've flown that 260 and it's gone 285. So it's a really well suited performing driver.
Like I said before, on the first shot that I hit with it, stable.
Yeah.
Like I feel that, the miss, even there where I can get that a little bit high, a little bit toey, it's only dropping that, it's only going to 2100.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, look, you're plus minus 233. Like, that's a great improvement, almost by half on your TSI 3.
Yeah.
So, and you're gaining in ball speed. You've gained 2.5 miles an hour ball speed.
And I think it's important to say there that, my average swing speed is at 102.9 with my own driver, compared to 102.6.
Yeah.
So it's exact. I'm swinging it the same,
Identical.
but yet my ball speed is up on that.
Yeah.
And that's an important point there. Is that ball speed, swing speed is important, but ball speed is.
The ball speed is king when it comes to distance. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think important part for me is making sure we go like for like when it comes to the TSR3 compared to what I'm using. So obviously you've made a small adjustment at the back of the club there, haven't you?
Yeah, basically I've set up the TSR3 the same as what your current TSI3 was.
Yeah.
We've got the same loft in the head, we've got the same sure fit hosel setting, and we've also just put the CG track in the same place there, just so we get a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Small improvements from TSI3 to TSR3. TSI3 was fantastic. Everybody loved the shape and the look of it, and obviously the performance.
Yeah.
So basically we wanted to keep all the good stuff and then just maybe make some little improvements along the way. One thing, the aerodynamics. So cleaned up a lot of this bottom area here. This actual, where the sure fit hosel wrench goes in here, this is actually smaller. So again, we're just trying to make little refinements. Tidied up this, the back weight here as well, in terms of this is a lot smoother and a lot easier to kind of transition that weight from one place to another.
Okay.
And then where it really performs is in the face technology. So we've got this speed ring technology in the face there, which to put it simply, when you get it in the middle, you're going to gain from it. Okay. The guy that this is aimed for the golfer that's consistently hitting the same part of the club face, and when they get it in the middle, they're really going to see some benefits.
Yeah. Okay. So visually looking down, and now the TSR3, it looks identical to what I was getting out of the TSI3, and actually just listening to the sort of chat amongst the guys here that work at Titleist, one of the key things that was said amongst tour players is, please don't change the look of this. It looks great in the TSI3. Let's just stick with what we like the look of. Let's stick with what we know. And they really haven't. So looking down at this club now, it looks very, very similar to what I was seeing in my old driver, which to me is fantastic. Acoustics just sounded almost like a fraction thuddier. Not deader, that's a hard word to say on that, but a little bit tinnier maybe out of my TSI. Felt good. Quite centered, I would say, not like that high toe position that I would normally get it. I reckon that spun at about 1800. 15, there you go.
The numbers that I'm seeing down there are probably what I would predict to see, given where we started with your TSI 3.
Yeah.
Again, you can see that when it's more middled, you are getting the ball speed gains, but perhaps in those slight miss hits, again, we're seeing the variance in the spin. We're seeing the shorter carry distances. Okay, you're getting the same sort of run total there, so you're 280, 282, but it's certainly not flying as far as consistently as what TSR2 was doing.
Yeah.
So again, from a fitting point of view, I would make a couple of adjustments to that, whereas in TSR2 I was pretty happy with the setup that we had. So what I've done here, rather than give you the 9 head and just add a little bit more loft to that, because that's going to slightly close the face, I've actually given you the 10-degree head.
Okay.
I've moved that CG track rate all the way to the toe, and I've also just flattened that lie angle a touch. I flew 260 through the air for 280.
So that's matched up with my longest carry of the day then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So 259,
and ball
260.
speed at 155.5, slightly quicker club head speed.
Yeah. 1 mile an hour on an average.
Yeah, but I know again it's only one shot, but yeah. We didn't get quite near that with the 9 head, and that setup same as what you're currently in. So yeah. This again, have a few more hits with it.
Okay, that's going to be lower in spin, I think. Back to the sort of 1800 spin. 1800, yeah. So is it?
Again, yeah. 250 through the air for 281. So you are getting that difference in the spin rates again in this model versus the TSR2.
Yeah.
But again, if you said to me, look, I really prefer this shape over 2, we can obviously make this work.
I'll be brutally honest, the feeling I have right now is that I can feel the strike location a lot more with this one.
Right, okay.
And I'm not saying, I'm saying that's a positive in one way, but also a negative in the fact that it feels, when I mishit it, like even that shot there, you know, it was a good shot, it was a great flight, but the club I can feel the twisting in the club. And to be honest with you, I feel like I could try and work this all day, but I would still walk away with the number 2 over this, because the shape is as nice, so it's just as good a looking, and it feels so much more stable. Good best to best, probably not going to notice a great deal of difference in it, but I feel that those off-centered strikes, those days that I don't have a great day and we jump out the van and run onto the tee, I'm going to have so much more forgiveness in that 2 than I am the 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
which I think I would have had that in previous models, but not the same look.
Yeah.
So we got to test the 4, haven't we?
We've got to test the 4.
This is the one that scared me over the years. I've tried them. I've tried the 4, the model of the 4. Slightly smaller looking. It almost looks like a bigger 3-wood to me.
Sure.
I've looked at them.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the TSR 4.
So TSR4, in terms of its shape and its profile, it's a bit more like it's 430cc, so again slightly smaller than 2 and 3.
Profile,
but the actual look of it is like a scaled down version of 3,
okay.
So very appealing. The other big noticeable change you'll see is we've got 2 weights in this model versus the previous 4. We just had that 1 weight further forward, which has its advantages. You can obviously you can play in its traditional kind of 4 position with the heavyweight further forward, or we can alternatively move that heavyweight further back, so you kind of get the MOI properties of the 3, but still potentially the gains of the sort of more ball speed or lower spin from the 4 model. So it can sort of be a hybrid of the 2, and we kind of nickname it the 3.5 model if you like.
And this is designed for your stronger player, is it not? Someone that really spins the ball quite high, gives plenty of club head speed into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the important thing to notice as well, like it's as a smaller head, it's actually got the same face technology as what we've put in the 2 head.
Yeah.
Okay, rather than the 3, because ultimately, as it is a more compact head and the CG is further forward, to give it some sort of forgiveness as well, we've put the 2 face model in this one rather than the 3, which would make it kind of really hard to be forgiving. But yeah, outside of that, it's the golfer that's hitting the same part of the golf club consistently and is just looking to maximise ball speed and hopefully maintain that dispersion at the same time.
Now I have to say that I was expecting to see a very small profile of club looking down by the ball. I'm not really seeing it. I'm seeing something that's very similar to my TSI3. I'm sure once I start hitting it I might get a sense of it being slightly smaller in profile, but to be honest with you, I think first impressions, I'm quite impressed. The shape of it, very, very similar to what I was getting out of my TSR3 and TSI3. So all in all, quite a positive start.
Yes.
So, first impressions sound quite tinny. I was expecting it to feel more thuddy because it's smaller in profile. I was expecting that to feel definitely more of a thud off the face rather than a tin off the face, but first impressions, not the best strike from me, but a slightly high-pitched sound off the face. I reckon that spun at what, 1300?
1300.
Honestly, is it?
Honestly, 1300. It's carried 230 for 275, and ball speed close to 153.
I've got more in me, you know. I reckon that's as good as I've got out of that thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, ball speed up there close to 156. Spin rate probably as
good as I'm going to get.
High as you, yeah, a high, let's say for you in this model, but close to 2000. Again, 248 for 283.
So it's running.
So you're getting that total distance, yes, but from a playability point of view of the previous versions that we've tried, it's
so at the moment we've got this weight forward, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So if we just change the weight and pop it back a little bit, we should hopefully see a little bit of an increase in spin, is what I would like to feel, and almost a feel of higher moment of inertia, so a bit more stable. Even hitting it for the first couple of shots that I've hit with it, I was expecting to maybe feel that profile of the club, maybe with a few mishits, maybe shrink down, and then after a few you lose a bit of confidence with it. But to be honest with you, I'm not sensing that. It still feels and looks bigger. It still feels and looks like a 460 head. Really, it doesn't look like you've lost that 30 cc's out of it.
No, as I say, it's a really attractive head. It looks great behind the ball.
Yeah. So we've gone weight a little bit further back now, just to see if I can increase the spin a little bit to see if there's any change.
T-peg use, aren't you? Just the one T-peg.
One T.
Yeah,
I've still got a pocket full of them.
Yeah, but he's still nicked about 30 of them.
Just wants to fall out of the air, doesn't it?
I think for you, Dan, yes, that being perhaps your miss to the left. So if we're going to make you hit more fairways or keep you in the fairway a little bit more, we need to give you a
1900 spin there.
Yeah. I mean, the ball speed's been consistent, right? It's been pretty much 155 every single time.
Yeah.
But we are seeing that variance in the spin and ultimately that carry number.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that the run out is going to be there. You're going to get close to that 280 mark.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that we've certainly found is that the golfers that have tried this product, each model, they're like, I could use each one of these drivers comfortably. You could walk out the door and be like, yeah, I can go and play that and know it's going to perform. But then each one perhaps has its slight benefits over.
I think what we're going to see is there's potentially this has opened the door for maybe a few more players to actually use this club than previous models.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Because I really did struggle with the previous models to get them in the air, to get them to stay in the air. Whereas actually I think this is a little bit more playable, a little bit more friendly for a lot more players. So the positive from this club for me is just the look on it. Like,
Yeah.
I think, you know, it really it ticks a lot of boxes. I think it ticks a lot of boxes for the eye for certainly a lot of golfers out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, the feedback we've had is that everybody loved the shape of 3.
Yeah.
So it's almost just like a scaled down version of 3.
Yeah.
So it's it's going to be really popular, I think.
Well, what a fantastic day that was at Woburn to go through the fitting for the TSR driver, and here it is. I ended up in the TSR2 driver. I think you could see from that video that I kind of fell in love with that driver. It just gave me a little bit more confidence, slightly bigger in the profile, and just feel like I could get the most out of it on those sort of days when I'm not feeling the best. And the one thing you will notice here is a slightly different shaft than what I was testing in that video. Well, later on, we actually went through a process of finding the right shaft to fit in to see if we could get a little bit more out of that. And that's another video to come after this one. So watch out for that if you're into the shafts and how they can maybe make a slight difference within your clubs. But I'd like to hear what you think. Are you somebody that's going to go out and test the new TSR driver? Is the price tag of £529 on an RRP putting you off, or is it not something that you're overly worried about? I'd like to hear down in the comments. Don't forget, if you are new to our channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you all again very soon.